What is up, guys? This is Alex from Double Move Sports, back today with another off-season breakdown video, a perfect off-season breakdown video. This is an incredibly fun series that I've started where I basically take an organization, I look at the players they have, their team needs, and we walk through their free agents, the potential free agents on the open market, their draft capital, and we build the perfect off-season for this team heading into 2021. So I've already done the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals. Those are on the channel now. Check those out if you haven't. And today I am breaking down the Miami Dolphins. But before we get into it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment down below the teams you would like to see me break down next. But without further ado, let's talk Miami Dolphins. I think in 2020, the Dolphins exceeded all of our expectations. Even if you're a Dolphins fan, you'll probably admit this. Brian Flores as the head coach, Tua Tagovailoa, rookie quarterback. We're kind of wondering, is he going to take over for Fitzpatrick at some point in the season? That proves to be the case. But this team finishes 10-6. They have an incredibly strong defense. They have a lot to be excited about on the offensive side of the ball as well. And when you look to 2021, a lot of their core pieces are going to stay in place. This team has Tua Tagovailoa, as I mentioned, at quarterback. At the running back spot, Myles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed sure played very, very solid in 2020. Other key offensive players, you got Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Eric Flowers on the offensive line, Austin Jackson, who they drafted in the first round last year as a tackle. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you do have playmakers. You have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones at corner. You have Kyle Van Noy and Shaq Lawson rushing the passer. So this team has a lot of good key pieces in place, but they definitely need to make some moves if they want to take this team to the next level, to a playoff team, to a Super Bowl contender. So before we get into their free agents, let's look at the cap space. And it looks like they have $26 to $41 million. There's still some things in flux based on where the final cap number shakes out. But $26 to $41 million is enough to bring back some of your key players that are free agents, maybe sign some depth pieces, and it gives you some flexibility to make one splash signing if you want to in free agency. So knowing that that cap number is in place, first let's look at the Miami Dolphins free agents that they will have the choice to bring back or let go. And not a lot here. As I mentioned, a lot of these pieces will be back. But on the offensive side of the ball, you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, Matt Breida, and Ted Karras, who's their center, their starting center. On the defensive side of the ball, Camu Grugier-Hill and Landon Roberts as outside linebackers are the key players. Now, there's a long list of depth pieces, backups, practice squad guys, but for the purpose of this video, I just want to get into the key contributors to this team. So when we look at this, the first name that pops off the page is easy, and it's Matt Breida. You let him go. The whole Jordan Howard, Matt Breida experience didn't work out last year. You got really good play from Myles Gaskin, really good play from Salvon Ahmed. That's an easy one. Now, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, it gets a little bit interesting because I think he has a role on this team, even if it's a backup. We saw him this season come into some games, where Tua Tagovailoa was struggling or got hurt. I think moving forward, if Tua is going to be your franchise quarterback, you can't have him concerned that he is going to get benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So if Fitzpatrick is willing to come back as a true backup, know that he's only going in the game if Tua gets hurt, then I think Ryan Fitzpatrick makes sense to bring back on a one-year deal for backup money if he's willing to do so. So with this being the perfect offseason video, we will say they're able to bring back Ryan Fitzpatrick on a one-year deal to be the backup quarterback. And then Ted Karras, their starting center. We'll get into the offensive line a lot in this video, but we will bring Ted Karras back in this scenario. Didn't crush them on the offensive line, wasn't a total liability, but he also didn't rate incredibly high either, but he is a solid piece to the line, add some continuity, and you're probably not going to have to break the bank to bring him back. So we'll bring Karras back as well on defense. We're going to let Grugier-Hill go, bring back Landon Roberts, keep that rotational player at outside linebacker, and we will look to fill some linebacker spots later on. So here's a quick recap of the Dolphins free agents. We'll keep Fitzpatrick, we'll keep Karras, we'll keep Landon Roberts, and we will let Matt Breida and Camu Grugier-Hill hit the open market. Now, like I said earlier, $26 to $41 million in cap space. For the purpose of these videos, this is the perfect offseason. We're usually going to lean towards the higher end of that range. So we'll say they have $35 to $40 million here looking at the open market. And there's a lot of interesting names. Now, I know people are going to say they need a running back. But I think Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed did just fine last season. I don't see them going out and signing an Aaron Jones, a James Conner. I don't think that's what this team needs. They might look to the draft to add a depth rotational running back with a different skill set than Gaskin or Ahmed have. But as far as the free agents go, I think they should pass. The position that really interests me, well, two positions that interest me are the offensive line and wide receiver. And they do have the third overall pick in the draft, which we'll get into later. But it all kind of depends what they want to do there. If they want to go with a receiver with that pick, I think they should sign an offensive lineman in free agency. But if they want to go with an offensive lineman, they should sign a wide receiver in free agency. So for the purpose of this video, there's a name in the draft I really like for the Miami Dolphins at the wide receiver spot. So we're going to put that off till later. And we're going to go after an offensive lineman in free agency. Two guards that come to mind here are Brandon Scherff and Joe Tooney. Both are solid veteran guards. I think you put either of them opposite of Eric Flowers, and you're starting to really build a strong offensive line with Ted Karras in the middle, like we mentioned earlier, bringing him back next season. So we're going to go ahead and say that the Dolphins signed Joe Tooney from the New England Patriots to be a guard on this offense. And this line is coming together for your young rookie quarterback. You have Ted Karras at center, Eric Flowers and Joe Tooney at guard, Austin Jackson at tackle, who you drafted in the first round last season. And we're going to go ahead and address that other tackle spot later on in this video. So if you sign Joe Tooney, because of that, we'll hold off on receiver for now. On the defensive side of the ball, you have big playmakers in Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy. I don't think you need to make a splash signing on the defensive side of the ball. They'll probably sign some depth pieces, but no names notable enough to call out here. So free agency is going to be pretty simple for the Miami Dolphins because of their cap situation. But what gets really fun for them is the draft, because it seems like they've been ripping off the Texans in trades for years now, and they now have incredible draft capital this season. So I'll flash it on the screen here. Here is the draft capital for the Dolphins this year. A 10-6 football team with a developing young quarterback. They have the 3rd pick and the 18th pick in the first round, the 36th and 50th pick in the second round, and pick 82 overall in the 3rd round. So first, we're going to look at pick 3, and we mentioned it earlier. There's a name here I like at the wide receiver spot. This should not shock anybody. It's Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. In this pick, you get a dominant playmaker wide receiver for Tua Tagovailoa. He is going to go great alongside Devontae Parker in this offense. This should really open things up for both guys. You know, you have two alpha athletic wide receivers that should really draw number one cornerback coverage. They're going to play off of each other. You see like Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen in Minnesota really play well together. You've even seen Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins playing well together for Joe Burrow in the small sample size we had. I think that's what the Dolphins should go ahead and try to do here with Jamar Chase and Devontae Parker for Tua Tagovailoa at the 3rd overall pick. Now, it is important to mention they could potentially trade back here because there's tons of quarterbacks in this draft. You got Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, a lot of guys are available. So they could trade back a couple spots if someone's trying to jump up, still take Chase in the top 5-7 picks and get more draft capital for the future. But we're just going to go ahead and lock it in here at number 3, Jamar Chase from LSU. You fast forward to pick 18 in the first round, and this is where I think they should go ahead and finish off that offensive line with Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive tackle from USC. And Elijah Vera Tucker, incredibly athletic player. He's kind of a guard tackle swing guy with some versatility, and he was actually a college teammate to offensive tackle Austin Jackson, who the Dolphins selected in the first round last season. So now you get Elijah Vera Tucker and Austin Jackson as your tackles, two guys that played together in college. You have Tooney and Eric Flowers at guard, Ted Karras at center, and Robert Hunt, a guard they drafted in the second round last year, can kind of be your depth rotational offensive lineman as well. So if they're able to lock up Elijah Vera Tucker here, they have an incredible offensive line that's a mix of veteran play, young developing players on the tackles, and then you also have some depth and continuity there. So this would be a huge pickup for this Dolphins team, for Tua Tagovailoa. You build it out, give them some weapons, give them an offensive line, and this Dolphins team is starting to look very, very scary. But it gets even scarier when you look at what they're going to do with round 2, pick 36. They're going to go back to the well with offensive weapons and take Rondale Moore, wide receiver from Purdue. And Rondale Moore is a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. You can give him jet sweeps out of the backfield. You can give him carries. He can play slot. He can go deep. This guy is shifty. He's an all-purpose receiver, and he would complement Devontae Parker and Jamar Chase incredibly well, make things easier on Tua Tagovailoa. You already have Lynn Bowden there as well, who can kind of do it all. So you throw Rondale Moore in, who's more of a speed, shifty guy, Lynn Bowden, who's more of a finesse player, but has athleticism of his own, and then Chase and Parker on the outsides with Mike Gesicki. And this offense is starting to look very, very scary with offensive weapons. So Rondale Moore from Purdue is the pick here at 36 overall. Now, next, I think it's important to go ahead and address the defensive side of the ball. We brought back a Landon Roberts as a free agent for this Dolphins team. We didn't address any defensive studs in free agency. We said they might pick up some depth pieces. We haven't addressed it in the draft. I think they go ahead and pick a player here in the second round that they could plug and play in this offense immediately, and it's Dylan Moses, inside linebacker from Alabama. You know, the Dolphins have these dynamic splash playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy, the guys that can make a play that totally shifts the momentum of the game. But Dylan Moses would just be a rock-solid player for the center of this defense. He is a very, very good interior linebacker who played at the top college level in the SEC. He can tackle. He can defend the pass. He doesn't have a ton of glaring weaknesses to his game. So I think if they pick Dylan Moses from Alabama, you have an immediate plug-and-play guy who can impact the defense in a positive way here in the end of the second round. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and move to round 3. Pick 82 overall, and I know we haven't addressed the running back yet, but here we are going to go ahead and do that. It's Javonte Williams, running back from UNC, and this is a bruiser back that this offense desperately needs. We look at what they tried to do last year, kind of like this speed-power combo with Matt Breida, Jordan Howard. That obviously didn't work out really well. Now you have Myles Gaskin, who's this fast, quick pass-catching back. You have Ahmed, who's pretty good within the tackles as well, but you don't have that goal line bruiser. And Javonte Williams gives you that goal line bruiser. He's like a A.J. Dillon type build. He's like a Marshawn Lynch. Just give him the ball, tell him to get a couple yards for a first down, for a touchdown, whatever it is, and he is going to get it done. If they bring in Williams, he doesn't need to be an every down back. He doesn't need to get 150, 200 carries, but he can be utilized in those short yardage situations and be a very, very good asset for the Miami Dolphins. So adds really good depth to both Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed, gives you another skill set in the backfield, and you really start to see this offense take shape with Javonte Williams there at running back, Rondale Moore at receiver, and Jamar Chase at receiver in this draft. So that wraps up the draft capital we're going to talk about. They have picks in rounds 4 through 7 as well. Typically, the hit rate's a little lower. I really want to focus on the guys that could be impact players right off the bat. So those are their round 1, 2, and 3 picks. But really quickly, before we wrap up, I want to go ahead and recap the Dolphins' moves in this perfect offseason scenario. First, they're going to go ahead and sign Ryan Fitzpatrick to continue to be the backup. They're going to bring back Ted Karras on their offensive line, and they're going to re-sign a Landon Roberts at outside linebacker. Next, in free agency, you're going to sign some depth on the defensive side of the ball, and you're also going to make a splash signing and pick up Joe Tooney, offensive guard from the New England Patriots. And last but not least, the fun part for the Dolphins this offseason, the NFL draft, they pick up Jamar Chase, 3rd overall stud wide receiver out of LSU. Later in the first round, you complete your offensive line with Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive tackle out of USC. And then in the second round, you pick up Rondale Moore, wide receiver out of Purdue, who's going to give you a whole new level of dynamic athleticism. You pick up Dylan Moses, a guy you can plug and play on your defense from day one. And then in round 3, you pick up Javonte Williams as a depth running back with a new skill set that complements Gaskin very, very well. So that does it here with the Dolphins' perfect offseason video. I know there, currently when I'm recording this, are rumors around Deshaun Watson and a potential flip of Tua and draft capital for Watson. Now, I don't expect that to happen. I think that would probably be the perfect offseason for Dolphins and Dolphins fans, is picking up a franchise quarterback like Deshaun Watson. If it does happen, though, if they do trade Tua and some draft capital for Watson, some of these other needs don't change. They still need to go out and get a stud wide receiver. They could still use an interior linebacker on defense, and they could use a good offensive line as well. So obviously, Watson would truly be the perfect offseason. I don't expect it to happen. Here's a very realistic situation that the Dolphins could pull off and put themselves in position to compete in the AFC East, both this year and years to come. So again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports. Drop down in the comments below who you want to see me break down next. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next time.